Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Aquarius occurring on August 11th, 2022 at 9:35 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This is the twin flame energy update for this lunation and a couple of announcements before we begin. I do have some time in my calendar available this week. I've got two 1 hour sessions available tomorrow and a 30-minute session available on for Thursday for those who would like to connect. An update about that is that for the time being, I've been guided to withdraw the offering of twin flame readings at this time, especially after I provided the union energy update for all signs a few weeks back. It's just become more and more and more apparent how much of a focus on self time this is for so many people, so many counterparts. And in my sessions where I have been reading for people who've come for twin flame readings, I'm finding at this juncture, more and more and more, I've actually been repeating myself and saying things that I've either said to these people in previous sessions or said things, that I've said in the lunar updates. And so I've been guided to really open my calendar up for people who are truly ready to deal with some of the issues in their own blockage of union with self in their journey. And they can see where those particular issues are standing in the way of anything progressing with counterparts. So this happened one other time in 2020, actually. I believe it was, or maybe it was 2019. My guide said this is going to be a time where people really need to focus on themselves. And so make yourself available for that. And so here we are with a very similar kind of frequency in the air where, there's just a real focus on self. So, um, there are personal readings available where we can really talk about your experience in your twin flame journey and what your learning is and what you're being asked to learn at this time. But I won't be reading someone else's chart for you and focusing on their journey. The only exception to that, and this is a new offering at this time, is couples. So if you and your counterpart or someone you love would like to show up in session together and have me read for both of you. I've been reading for an increasing amount of people two people who are trying to fit themselves into a 1 hour session. They show up, they make time in their calendar together. Um, 1 hour is just not enough. You guys have shown me and you've told me, like, listen, okay, if you had 90 minutes for us, that would have worked better because they just left with not enough information and way more questions. So if you and your counterpart would like to show up in session together, there is a 90-minute session available on the site for you to book if that's something of interest to you. However, the one thing that I want to be able to say about that is that if you are an individual, do not book a 90-minute session. I will cap it at 60 minutes and I will not refund you. I'm saying this now. I'm saying this clearly. I said it on the site. I'm saying it below this video. Please respect my boundaries. I really do not have bandwidth to sit with one person for more than 60 minutes. But if there's two of you, that provides a different dynamic and allows my energy to work in a different way. So if you are in a couple and you would like to book a reading, you can certainly do that on the website. But if you're an individual, I ask that you only book a 1 hour reading for yourself. If that's something that you would like, that's the max amount of time I will spend with you. Okay. All right, let's move into the content for the Lionsgate. Fascinating energies going on. Um, Last year at Lionsgate, there was a bit of an energetic and dynamic shift I noticed for Twin Flames around, it actually took place before. And so the Lionsgate energy, actually, because of the way the precision of the equinoxes has worked, we mark it as 8/8. And if I'm being honest with you, it used to be August 8th, but this was hundreds of years ago. Because of the way planets and celestial bodies move in space and time, the actual alignment between Sirius, the planet Earth, and the sun happens earlier. It happens around the 5th or the 6th. Last year, around August 5th, there was a pretty dynamic shift in a lot of twin flame connections and for a lot of light workers. And it I'm really dancing around the way I phrase this, but it basically threw a spanner in the works for a lot of people this year. And it took place on a new moon in Leo. So there was an opportunity to open a dynamic that may have provided some unworkability in connections. This year, the Lionsgate took place around 8/5, 8/6 again, but this completes a cycle because it's a full moon. Full moons bring closure, new moons bring openings. And so there's a completion of an energy that may have kicked off last year at this time in twin connections. Because this is a more cycle of completion, there's certainly a lot of vibration and frequency around change, growth, and transformation. I cover that in depth in the Lightworker energy update for this lunation. I highly recommend you have a listen to that, because in these twin flame updates, all I really do is talk about what the counterparts are doing in the sky and their energies, but their energies are happening in the wider context of the fullness of the lunar energies. Of the lunar energies, they are not the main story, they are not the only story. And where the actual work is inside of your connections is going to be inside of that light worker energy update. If you want to know what you're supposed to do to unblock your connection, if you want to understand where your growth is so that you can evolve with your connection, if you want to understand, where your edge is in terms of your evolution, you want to listen to that one, because you're only getting part of the story and really only the top layer of it just by listening to the twin flame update. So I highly recommend you have a listen to that, come back to this. Let's get into our counterparts here. I just keep them separate, and sometimes I really consider combining them. I'd love your opinion in the comments. If you're like, yeah, you should combine them, just put this at the end of that one. And then I just do one video at the lunar updates. Um, what we have going on here is our divine feminine energy sitting in Pisces, and she is right here in Pisces, having a conversation with Neptune, as she has been all year. And at this time, moving into a hard square with Pallas. Pallas really represents protectoress energy. She's the protector of the forest, the flora and fauna. She comes in with a Mars like energy. Mars in neutrality is ambition, focus, goals, ambition and passion to strive toward our goals. In the shadow, Mars gives us God of War. In the light, you know, Mars gives us drive, gives us ambition. But in neutrality, it gives us that like passionate energy to stand for something. And Pallas is almost like a female version of that, but she really stands for the protection of Earth, terra firma, our sovereignty in so many ways. And with Pallas in square to Juno, what we have going on for in the divine feminine energetic fields is this tension around protecting ourselves, protecting the connection, standing for ourselves, standing for the connection, wanting to have ambition for the self, that may in times be at odds with or in conflict with the way the connection is manifesting or rendering at this time in the third dimension. And so, especially because Pallas is sitting here in the sign of thought forms and communication, that's Gemini. We've got Juno sitting so close to Nessus. Nessus governs rumination and obsession, a little OCD behaviors and thinking. What we have going on for the divine feminine is this vibration of looping in thoughts, lots of rumination, and even because of the way she's speaking to the South Node, repeating patterns, repeating cycles with certain people for maybe one last round. Okay. That rumination energy in the divine feminine energy fields is really blocking some of the divine feminine creativity, some of the divine feminine capacity to kind of be receptive and open to the flow of life. But never fear, our friend Neptune is here saying, let go, let go, let go, let go some more, and let go again. Neptune really encourages divine feminine energy in such close proximity to be in flow with what it is, to get into non resistance to reality, what's happening right now, and to honor what's happening as a dramatic season of change and transformation for everyone. And it's been ongoing since the beginning of the year. In the Union Energy Update I posted about 3 weeks ago, I did share that the journey from January to now really it was a demarcation of transformation in these connections. And I went through kind of month by month, season by season, precisely what you would have experienced up to this point that would have put an X marks the spot on the season of change for you, what needs to shift, why it needs to shift, and what you need to do about it. So, if you only listen to what it is for your sign in that Union Energy Update or your Aries house, again, you're really missing the big picture and like the crux of the story here. And I encourage you to really understand this moment in time and the greater context, because there is no moon. There is no lunation, full moon or new. There is no Lion's Gate or moment in the calendar astrologically that operates on its own, especially not this year, because we have such a huge continuation of energies from last year. And I spoke about some of this in the Lightworker Energy Update as well, that bring us into this moment where if you weren't paying attention to those energies or you missed it, unfortunately, this moment can feel really confusing. It can feel fraught with tension. It can feel like you're pulled in different directions. And it can honestly feel like everyone around you is getting the best of you. But if you're really working with this energy in the light, it does give you the opportunity to understand why you're being tasked with what you're being tasked with, why the issues are what they are, and what you can do about it to operate in this energy in a more empowered way. And everyone has feminine energy. It doesn't matter what kind of Barney body. Some of you have a Barney. Some of us have a Barney, but it doesn't matter what type of body you are in or you are transitioning to. We all have feminine energy, and some of us are working with a Barney energy. Thank goodness for that Barney. Hilarious. Because Barney did stand for love. In case you missed the theme song, there was a stand for love there for sure. Okay, so here's the deal. Some of us are going to be coming into some major clarity in the connection in our feminine energy fields, because divine feminine is also speaking to Uranus and the North Node. North Node talks about the direction of the connection. Uranus talks about change. And because Uranus is sitting in the sign of the body, we're talking about change in the third dimension. This sextile energy means harmony, but it's harmony through our efforts, through the work and toil of our own hand. Uranus wants to bring that change into the divine feminine energy fields, but it's change that Uranus won't force on us, but will give us the opportunity to step into. But that's going to really require, again, Neptune, Pisces, Neptune, Pisces talk about release and letting go. So there's something in the divine feminine energy fields that we have to let go of if, in fact, we're going to take hold of this change. Okay. And this could be some really challenging thoughts in general about the connection, some illumination about the direction the connection is going, or your role in the connection and why the connection may be where it's at. Some illumination like, oh, this is what I contributed to this. This is why she, he, they are acting this way. Because I brought this to the table. I get it. I see it. And I also see what I'm going to have to do if I'm going to get a different kind of interaction. There's a recognizing also for some that you may need to let the connection go at this time, for mental health reasons. That Palace and Gemini is really saying for your own mental health and protection of your mental health. You may need to release where you're at with the connection at this moment. For others of you, this may be, and these are some of the channeled messages that are really starting to come through. I wrote these down last night because the first messages for 2023 came up last night. That there's this recognition, North Node conjunct Uranus, the original divine counterpart, and that's speaking to in our divine feminine energy fields, that intuitive energy field. Some of us are really seeing that, okay, yeah, there is some level of third dimensional traditional union that is going to play out for me in the next 1.5 years. Some of us will finally come to know, and this is the dawning of that. It's the sun isn't even over the horizon, but there's the dawning of the realization in this huge letting go period this year that what you're dealing with has not been a twin this whole time, that you have been dealing with someone else that label doesn't fit what you're actually dealing with, and there are other lessons starting to come to the forefront through that, as the experience you've been having comes to completion. That doesn't make you any less of a divine counterpart. If you've been activated by love, you've been activated by love. The journey is still your journey, right? But this person just may not be the person that there's going to be continued mirroring with. And so you may come to a cycle of completion there. Some are actually, with this energy, coming to terms with and realization, that they are a twin and this is the beginning of their journey. And that really kind of opened up as Uranus and Venus met this year, Uranus and Mars met this year, and brought you from a place of, yeah, I believe in love, to, wow, this is a whole new thing. Divine love is a whole other level of love. And it's transforming me in some really fundamental ways permanently. And some of you are getting that energy coming in at this time. It's dawning at this time. It peaks in 2023. And then some of you with this energy, and I suspect this is probably the majority of people who watch this channel, some of you are really understanding what you personally have been contributing to your own separation and your connection, or your own triggers in your connection, or your own breakdowns if you're in some type of union and connection. um, you're gonna finally understand your personal contribution to it. You may have had some real clarity about your counterpart and their growth edge and what they're working on and working through and what their challenges are. But this particular energy, as we move toward the peak of the union window in 2023, January, between now and then, there's like oh, this is why it keeps smelling like poop in here. You're not the one taking a poop in here. I'm the one taking a poop in here. Okay, let me go clean it up. Right. And so there's that. You're going to start to really come to awareness with this kind of energy about your blocks. And thank God for this connection to the South Node, because this flow to the South Node, the trine energy, is allowing you to finally let the heck go. Like, stop doing the thing you keep doing that messes stuff up. Like, start getting in and locking in to a pattern of movement toward growth, a pattern of movement toward evolution and change. And this is her talking to the North Node. Easy to let go at this time, a little bit more challenging to step into the growth pattern, but it's certainly there. Okay, the opportunity is there through that sextile. All right. So that's what we've got going on in the divine feminine energy fields. Again, for greater context, please have a listen to the Lightworker energy update. It will make it clear for you why you're having the experiences you're having and give you even greater context clues about what you need to do in order to move toward a smoother flow of union with self, union with others, soul mission, soul group, counterpart, etc. source. All of that to say, if you do want to have some conversations about this, personal readings are certainly available for those who are really ready to take a look at themselves. I have some time tomorrow, and if for whatever reason your schedule doesn't work on Wednesday, you can always book it, send me your questions, and then I can send you back a recording. Divine masculine energies, let's get into it. Divine masculine energy has moved retrograde. You can see that R symbol with the X. If you ever see that in a chart, that means the planet is retrograde. Divine feminine is also retrograde at this time too. I have noticed in my years of doing this that when both counterparts are retrograde or one or the other is retrograde, there can be a bit of an energetic pulling back in the connection in the third dimension. But during this pullback, there can be lots of insights and realizations about ourselves, about the counterpart, about the connection. Again, this is big union with self energy going on here. The divine masculine energy field sits in the sign of Aries. Aries is the sign of the individual, the sign of the self, right? And so this energy is really fostering in our divine masculine energy a real need to take a stand and deal with some things in our own individual worlds. We have divine masculine in trine to Ceres right here at the 8th degree, speaking in harmony, Ceres in Leo. We've also, given the light of this full moons can represent mothers. Ceres represents mothers as well. There can be some issues with a mother or female authority figures. We've also got this sextile to Lilith here. For the kind of issues, definitely have a listen to the Lightworker energy update because they're not really divine counterpart issues I'm seeing. They're more like individual, like personality type problems, but and they don't necessarily deal with the divine counterparts directly. So that's why I didn't put it in this update. But if you need more intel on that, because you recognize this to be true for you, Lightworker energy update, have a listen there. There's a stubbornness in divine masculine energy fields where there's this thing going on with Lilith. And Lilith can bring some real stubbornness and a need to do things, quote, my way. And there's a looming energy on the horizon. It's been here all year. Well, actually, just since June, as divine masculine got into Aries. There's a looming of some woundedness that needs to get dealt with. Before Jupiter turned retrograde at that 8th degree of Aries, Jupiter was moving forward toward Chiron, sitting at that 6th degree. Chiron in Aries talks about wounds to our ego, wounds to our selfhood, and not so much our ego structure, which is kind of like, the face we present to the world. Face hasn't been injured. What we're dealing with here in Chiron is personal, internal, kind of like soul level injury of feeling not enough, feeling not good enough. And so divine masculine energy has progressed toward this Chiron space all the way since June, right? However, and so there's been this like each step we've taken since then, out somewhere on the horizon, there's been this, yeah, I have that issue. I'm going to need to deal with that. Yeah, I have that issue. I'm going to need to deal with that at some point. That's a problem. I'm going to have to figure that out. But, there's this, and this that has to be dealt with in the meantime. And so with Jupiter speaking to Chiron in this way, it's been out there, not yet upon us to deal with. Now Jupiter has turned retrograde, and so our back is turned to the issue, or we've gone deeply internal and we're like digging our way toward the root of whatever that issue is, right? For those of you who tend to feel transits in advance of the collective, you already know what the issue is. You are digging and you are dealing with the problem. So, all of that to say, there can be, these wounds on the horizon, something that needs attention. It, we're either at the beginning of the process of dealing with it and just figuring out where the roots are, and next year, we're really going to be in the throes of resolution. Okay. But right now, what I'm seeing more of is that there's just this energy in divine masculine fields around. I'm feeling kind of stubborn. I need to deal with certain things my way. And it reads, I'm going to be honest, given the combination of energies from the lunation and then the harmony here with Ceres, this just reads like straight up baby mama drama. There's issues that I talk about in that light worker energy up that don't show up here directly for counterparts, but is in the air for all. It reads like there could be some issues with money. It reads like there could be some issues with codependency. It reads like there could be some issues with manipulation, especially with the way Venus is in the mix with Pluto and Mars. But neither of these are really speaking to Jupiter directly. They're just in the air. And so, where this is part of your storyline, that what is speaking to Jupiter more directly is this Lilith, where you are finding internal stubbornness because of issues pertaining to either money or exes or both. There's solution at hand, but we talk about that in the Lightworker energy update. In this video, it just seems like there's an imbuing of divine masculine energy fields. Like, I'm going to deal with this my way, and you can't make me do it another way, whatever this is for you. Okay. So for both counterparts, they're not really talking to one another right now. Are they moving toward union? Yes, but there's a silence between them. And that silence is really the veil here. You see Neptune sitting right in between the two of them, going, Yoo-hoo, I'm gonna need you to deal with some of your spiritual bypassing of your issues, or I'm gonna need you to deal with some of the things that you've been repressing and pushing down. There are things that need to get let go of. Divine feminine, I need you to deal with that. There are some things you need to confront head on. Divine masculine, you need to deal with that. And so there's this vibration here, even though they're peaking in union as we come into next year. And for those of you who are in a third dimensional sort of like connection and partnership, what I've been noticing as I've read for more and more couples is that even though you're in union, your journeys are very unique at this time. There's some very specific things that would show up in your individual charts that are saying, I'm going to need you to deal with this. And this really has nothing to do with the other person. And I've been having to say to couples a lot right now, what they're dealing with isn't personal. Do not take this personal. It is not about you. The way they're showing up, not showing up, connecting, not connecting, communicating, not communicating. There's a something going on here that has nothing to do with you. So don't take this personal as a kind of, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? What do we need to work on? Because I'm not seeing any we-ness about the work on right now. If anything, I'm seeing a very much, I need to work on something that is unique and pertains to me. Whether you are in separation or some type of union, all the counterparts are going through that right now. And so henceforth, why I've closed twin readings for now. If you come in as a couple, I can help you understand one another. If you're in separation, I can help you understand yourself so that you can overcome this hurdle and get back to being in connection in the way connection wants to be in your world. Okay. Book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video. If you'd like to do that, I do have space tomorrow. And of course, if for some reason your schedule doesn't work in the now time, you can always book for next week or request a recording, and I can provide the info you need. Just provide me with a little context and your questions. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take great care and bye for now.